Good day, class. I'm Mark, and this is Gonzo, and today we're talking about cheating in Dungeons and Dragons.
We'd like to know from you guys how you handle cheating in your Dungeons and Dragons game in the comments below. Let us know because we know this happens. It's rare, but it does happen. If you have any experience with that, please let us know in the comments. Also, subscribe if you haven't already, and hit the bell for notifications. That really helps the channel grow. Mark, we are excited about cheating in Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah, it's such a great topic. It's something that it's near and dear to our heart. Well, honestly, probably in the course of time of playing Dungeons and Dragons, you may have even cheated yourself from time to time. It's tempting. It's tempting to deal. So what are some ways that players cheat, Gonzo?
Yeah, what is cheating in D&D?
Yeah, what does that look like?
How do we define that? Because there's no system to break. There's no test that you take at the end.
No.
So
no cheat codes.
Yeah, no up, down, left, right.
Oh yeah, the one that made Laura Croft jump backwards and explode. I love that one. Yeah.
So there's none of that.
None of that. No.
But you can actually cheat in D&D, and we will probably get into what cheating is. But as far as one of the ways that we see it is initially when you're creating your character.
Sure. Yeah, you get the temptation to fudge your numbers. Look at that! I got all 18s. It's amazing. I mean, what are the odds?
Yeah, because it's natural to want to have your character be able to succeed in all things, and when we deal with dice, which are a random variable, and then we deal with a pen and paper style, even if you're using electronics, unless you're using the standard array or the point buy system or something that is kind of standardized, this could be very random what kind of character you could roll up.
Yeah.
So that's one way is that you fudge the numbers when you're rolling your character up. Another way that people cheat, and that I have done, you probably have done, probably all the time. Now that I think about it,
what are you talking about?
Wait a minute.
No, my warlock has plenty of spell slots.
is that you fudge your number that you rolled. If you knew you needed a 13, you rolled a 12. You're like, oh yeah, it's 13. You pick up your dice really quick.
Yeah.
Or maybe you drop it and you're using that number versus the one you first rolled. Maybe you're rolling all the time randomly.
Right.
Maybe
I'm gonna roll. No one saw me roll. Pick it up.
Yeah. Oh,
now I'm rolling.
Yeah. Now I'm rolling for my character. Or maybe a lot of times it's simply a mistake, but you are using your feats over and over. You're using your spell slots that you don't have.
Right.
You're using, I have the lucky feat. That means I can re-roll. Well, you used that before. You didn't have your long rest or short rest.
Right.
But the problem is a lot of this could easily be a mistake.
Sure.
But cheating does happen. And so what we wanted to talk about is what do you do when you notice. And generally, you will notice that if someone's doing it over and over and over, a pattern is definitely becoming a thing. They're always succeeding on every roll they make. They're always doing maximum damage and criticals all the time, and they always have the right spell slot ready for them. And you're thinking, didn't you already use your 5th level spell slot? You only have one, and you can't remember when the rest was. So what do we do if a player sees that another player's doing this?
Yeah, so the wise thing to do if a player sees it, he should talk to the player, not in front of everybody. No one wants to be called out in front of everybody. Okay. That is not a good way to handle it. But take the person aside and say, hey, I noticed you don't really need to do that. That's you're taking away from the tension of the game by doing that. There is an element of danger, and that element of danger is tied to some of these roles. I mean, you either make them or you don't, and sometimes those roles are live or die. I mean. And we like to say, live by the heart of the dice, So, but that's the thing. So if they're fudging that, they're cheating, they're taking away from that tension, which is what makes it exciting.
And I like what you're saying is as a dungeon master, if you can pull this person aside, not do it in front of the group, and basically say, look, you're basically losing out on a lot of the fun of the game.
Yeah.
And you're taking some of the fun away from the rest of the group.
Right.
It's okay if your player gets hurt, and it's okay if someone dies. I'll allow you to be resurrected.
Yeah,
they're gonna have to go find someone to heal you, but maybe just the players themselves don't realize that until they go through some loss, until they don't make a certain roll and fall into the pit trap or whatever it may be, they'll see that they're taking fun out of the game by removing that tension away.
I remember in our group an exact situation where my character was going to die, and the group was all like, they were upset. They were like, "Oh my gosh, this is terrible!" And like they're like, "You're going to die," and I'm like, "Look, this is why we play this game. It's part of the game. Dying is part of the game. It's okay. It's okay that it dies." And I almost had to talk the group into letting me die, and they felt like they'd lost it, and we're all going to die. Maybe not. If one character died, doesn't mean everyone's going to die per se. But there's that danger. That's the part of the reason why we play is there has to, if you're going to win things, there has to be times where you lose, and that losing really amps up the winning part. So like later on when you win against impossible odds,
awesome. Right?
Yeah, it's so much cooler.
It feels so epic to do that, and that's what makes it fun. So. And it's generally in the combat phases of the game where people try to fudge their dice or whatever. And
absolutely.
So, be aware of that. If you're a player and you're watching this and you've done it, it's very natural. It could have been by mistake, but be aware that there's more to the game. If you just let it live by the heart of the dice, you'll see that over the length of time you're going to have a lot more fun playing the game. And if you're Dungeon Master, make sure you call your players out individually, not in front of a group, because you don't know if it's a mistake. And B, no one wants to be humiliated or called out in front of the group. So.
How could we have fixed that before we got to that point?
Well, that's a good question, and that is the importance of session 0.
Yeah.
Now we've done a whole video on session 0, and the importance of it. We'll probably do more because that really is the key to a lot of problems in gaming. Is that session 0, setting up the expectations from the beginning, telling your players, let's roll in front of each other. Let's make sure you guys are doing the buddy system. Make sure you have someone, if you have to, if you feel like there's a need, make sure that they get their roll confirmed. Yeah. Just remind them, don't pick up the dice right away. Let your dice sit where they go. Right. Let's, that kind of thing. When you're creating a character, if you're using 4d6s or whatever your method may be, let's do that with a witness. Yeah. Let's do that. It doesn't have to be me, the Dungeon Master, but one other player or something. Right. Just roll in front of them. There's nothing more fun than seeing what stats your character is going to start with. Even if it's like, oh man, I've got 4 8s and that can lead to a really great story.
Sure,
and you can be more creative when your character has some faults or some weaknesses or that kind of thing.
Absolutely.
And then one other form of cheating that we wanted to finish with is metagaming. Yeah. And what's metagaming?
That metagames when we're talking about things that the characters couldn't possibly know. Like let's say you go and you fight lycanthropes, and your character has never ever experienced lycanthropes and know anything about them, but then you're telling everybody, guys, we need silver weapons to defeat a werewolf kind of character.
Let's back out of here. Let's go get our weapons all silvered.
Yeah. Now, it's super easy and tempting to do, but you got to think of, and this is role-playing. This is why it's called a role-playing game. What would your character know that? If your character wouldn't know that, then you really shouldn't be operating under those principles. And it's, like I said, it's really, and that's, you kind of have to put aside what you know as a person. It's really easy to do.
And I remember when I ran in one of our campaigns, your group, the characters ran into a Medusa in a cave. Yeah. And obviously a lot of us know that Medusas their vision can turn people into stone.
Right.
And so right away everyone's like, oh, I can't look at it. I can't, I've got to use my shield like in Clash of the Titans. I got to reflect it back at her, whatever. Right. And that was complete metagaming. But as a dungeon master, I remember thinking, well, all I have to do to combat that is ask one of your characters, the one suggesting all these things, to roll an intelligence check or a knowledge check or something to see if they would know a little bit more about Medusas. Maybe the ranger has been in this area of the woods and knows about Medusas and stays away. Right. Let them make a roll, and if they fail, then don't, as a dungeon master, it's easy to say, well, you're unfortunately your character doesn't know this thing with the snakes in its head and doesn't know that ability. So right. I'm not really good with you, walking in with a blindfold and shooting and rolling and seeing if at disadvantage and seeing if you can hit her.
Couldn't possibly know that.
So, right. Well, cheating does happen, but we want to re-emphasize that a lot of times it's simply not knowing your character really well. Yeah. It's not maybe having a great session 0 where some of these things were covered, or it's simply mistake. So treat it gently. be good about it. Most importantly, have fun when you're playing the game. Mm-hmm. And if you're having fun and the DM's having fun, that's all it's about. So
absolutely.
With that, class dismissed.